Do you ever feel like there's just not enough time in the day to get everything done? And before the end of the week, you wish you could find more time to just rest and just be? Right? You ever have those moments where it's like, man, I wish I could just physically rest. Not only just physically rest, but I wish I could sit in a place where my mind always didn't have to be going a million miles a minute, right? Like I just want to rest and just be emotionally and physically without having to spend millions of dollars of going on vacation, right? I just want to make it natural every single day. Just rest and be. Well, listen, if your answer is yes, you are definitely in the right place. Now, I absolutely get it. See, from 2015 to about year 2018, my life was filled daily with busyness. It was filled with chaos. I was a career woman. I was a mom. I was a wife. I juggled multiple roles and responsibilities, right? You hear that word, juggle. I was trying to balance everything. I was trying to give everything the same amount of energy. But in the roles of me doing that, even more, I was failing at focusing on my own emotional and physical rest needs, right? And so I was taking my children to the park out of guilt because I was always taking and doing my work at home. My work laptop spent more time on my lap than my children, right? And so I wasn't giving myself even the time of day to rest my own thoughts or my body, while all my multiple roles and responsibilities, they all ruled my life. They all got the most energy while I didn't give myself enough energy. I didn't give my family enough energy. I didn't give my marriage the right amount of energy. But work got 100% of the energy that I did have, right? So one day standing in the middle of my classroom, the ceiling started spinning out of control. My heart began beating out of control. And so as I quickly made my way down to the nurse's office before I passed out, once there, the nurse took my blood pressure and said, "Miss Harper, your blood pressure is sky high. Do you want me to call the ambulance?" So I said, "No, do not call the ambulance. Call my husband. I'm out of here." But it was that day that I made 3 changes. One of them I'm going to talk about today. Okay. It got me to a place of less stress, a positive mindset, more happiness with myself and my relationships. And it also allowed me to have that mandatory rest and soul care for myself. But I was able to do all those things without the guilt, right? So I'm Rachel Harper. Welcome to Changing the Phase of Wellness podcast. I am your host. Listen, this is a podcast where you learn how to create new habits, healthy habits, such as boundary setting, such as soul care, so that you can move into a place of taking better care of yourself. That simple, right? So let's jump right into this. So the question is, how was I able to this day live this kind of lifestyle where I was able to live with less stress, a positive mindset, mandatory rest, mandatory soul care? How was I able to do that since 2018 to this day, right? Well, I became serious about setting boundaries for my life, and I'm going to show you the same thing in this episode. Okay. I'm going to show you how you can do that. So the question is, how do you create boundaries? Because here's the thing. I wanted to create boundaries, not just to have boundaries set, right? We often hear people say create boundaries as if it's just a thing to do. No, I actually wanted to, number one, heal my mind and my body. But 2, I wanted to take back control of my life, right? And so for those of you who are really action takers and who want to have my personal help, I'll be sharing a way for you to also get that, right? So I'm not going to just leave you hanging with these steps, but I'm also want you to, if you are an action taker, have some personal help with these things as well. Today, I'm going to share with you 2 things. Number 1, why your belief that having more time in the day is keeping you closer to stress than you think. That's number 1. But number 2, I want you to learn how to create boundaries for your personal and your professional life for a life of increased mental and physical rest. That's critical for your success in life. Okay. So point number 1, your belief that having more time in the day, it is keeping you closer to stress than you think. The question is why? Why would that be keeping you closer to stress than you think? Because here's the thing, you can't control time. You'll never be able to control time. You have multiple roles, multiple responsibilities. You try completing everything on your to-do list all within 24 hours. And yet you're running around in life like a chicken with your head cut off. You can't do all the things all the time, all day long, and think you're going to have time for yourself. You can't think that you're going to have time for soul care and self-care and have time to set boundaries. You can't think that, right? So the question is, what is the actual solution? Well, the solution is learn how to control your habits, your behaviors, and your beliefs. It is at that point that you'll be able to not control time, but create better use of your time, which would then allow for better rest of your stressful thoughts and your tired body. Okay, so let me reiterate that. When you control your habits, your behaviors, and your beliefs, understand that's the only thing that you can control. You can't control time. The birds know that, the flowers know that, the trees know that, the planets know that, the seasons know that. Like, you can't control time. The only thing that you can do is control your habits, control your behaviors, control your beliefs. And in that moment, you would then be able to create better rest your stressful thoughts and your tired body. Okay. So when I worked as a special education teacher, I realized that I was living life believing that having a full-time career, being a wife and a mother, being all those things with stress was just the norm. But I had to realize that was not the norm. I didn't have to live my life like that. And so the same thing for you. You don't have to live your life with negative thoughts all the time. Your mind running a million miles a minute, always having this decision fatigue, always having these negative thoughts running through your mind, always having this worry, always having this stress, this anxiety, and then always making those thoughts translate over into physical, right? Physical fatigue, physical stress, high blood pressure, obesity, overeating, all the things, right? I want you to understand that your mind and your body, they are both connected. So wherever your mind goes, your body is going to go there as well. So it is critical for you to not try to control time so that you can find time for rest, but it is to control your habits, your behaviors, and your beliefs about and around time so that you can then create a better life of emotional rest, physical rest, all the things. Okay. So when you start creating boundaries around your life, number 2, it'll help your life reduce that stress. So here's the thing. Many of us believe that we know how to create boundaries, and a lot of times we don't, right? So you might have heard people say, well, creating a boundary means just saying no. Well, that's just a little bit of the issue. That's a little bit of how to create boundaries, but there are several types of boundaries. There are emotional boundaries. There's material boundaries. There's internal boundaries. There's conversational boundaries, physical boundaries, time boundaries, mental boundaries. So all those things, you can use the concept of just saying no, but I have something better for you. There's a better way to create boundaries. So in order for you to create personal and professional boundaries for your life, as a career-driven woman with multiple personal and professional roles and responsibilities, understand that in order for you to create boundaries, they must be created around your core values. You have to create around your core values. But the question is, do you know what they are? What are your core values? Right? So let's say, for example, if you want to create material boundaries. So with material boundaries, you are looking at your materials, right? You're looking at, for example, your finances. Let's say, for example, someone's always asking you for money. So you could quite simply say no. But let's say, for example, if your core value is that I'm a lender, and so because I'm a lender, not a borrower, whenever, certain people ask you for money, I'm going to make sure I lend. That might be your core value, right? And so saying no might not be it. You might say my boundary is going to be no for people I don't know, but it's going to be yes for my children. That might be your boundary, right? And so don't assume that, hey, anytime I have a boundary, my boundary is always saying no. Sometimes it is actually creating the opportunity for yourself to just have better control around the things that you have control of, right? And so being able to know your core values, know what they are, write them down, understand what they are. A lot of times we just live life, just letting time pass, not really knowing what our core values are. But know what your core values are so that way you can create healthy boundaries. Okay, so here's the thing. If these two steps helped you, I want you to go to restformymind.com. That's the first way I want to be able to help you moving forward. Go to restformymind.com. Go ahead and watch that 3-day intensive where I talked about soul care. Because if you are here listening to this, then more than likely it is that you need some type of emotional and physical rest, right? Maybe your thoughts are going 1,000 miles a minute. Perhaps you're always moving and always on the go. So you are physically fatigued, you are physically tired, you're physically drained, and you're like, man, I just need to rest and be. So go to restformymind.com so you can go ahead and watch that free 3-day intensive that I have for you. Now, for the women who juggle multiple roles and responsibilities, who say, you know what? you've taught me how to create boundaries. But I know I need a little bit more help, because maybe you want to create boundaries around your physical life. Maybe you want to create boundaries around your emotional life, right? And you're like, you know what? I really need help getting this done. What I want you to do is email me. You can email me at rachel@rachelharper.org and just let me know, listen, I really want some one-to-one coaching so that I can start creating more boundaries around my life. I want some tools, I want a plan, and I want you to guide me to get there. So that's what I can help you do, okay? So again, this is changing the face of wellness. Let's stop just looking at self-care as the way that we pursue our wellness. It's also about creating boundaries, changing our habits, changing our behaviors, changing our mindset, changing our beliefs, so that we can then change our well-being. We can change how we show up in our personal lives, how we show up in our professional lives, so that we can thrive all the way around. All right. So I hope that this episode helped you. If it has, listen, in the comment below, let me know, which one of those boundaries do you think you need to create for yourself? What was your biggest aha moment, and which emotional boundary do you want to, or which boundary do you want to set for yourself this year in 2023? So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this episode, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.